Good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Man, do we have a really cool show for y'all. I have my really good friend, Mr. Robby Raines, here in the studio with us today. We're going to be getting into the Lizardman of New York. So you guys go grab the popcorn. This is a new one. We have not gone over this Lizardman before, and y'all know I got heavy on the Reptilian shows this week. and so this is and partially we're doing the show tonight because Robby is an author and just put out a new book, and it is all about the creature of Skateboard Swamp. And as you guys know, I was actually in Myrtle Beach this past weekend, and I passed Bishopville, where Skateboard Swamp is, on the way there and on the way home. And I started to stop by there on Sunday, but I wasn't feeling great, and thank goodness I didn't, because we'll talk about that when Robby comes up. They had a little incident in the middle of Bishopville. It was all over TikTok. So at the same time, I was supposed to be there this weekend. But nonetheless, there are lizard people all over the world. And there's one in particular out of New York that was spotted. I'm sure there's a ton of them, but there's one that I was tasked as a remote viewing target. It was a sighting from the 1970s. And they go on to current day, actually. They say that anytime there is a flood, anytime there is a hurricane, the lizard people, the reptilians, come up to the surface, and you can see them around the subway systems and the sewage systems around New York. So we're about to get into it real deep. We're going deep tonight. So thank you guys so much for being here. If y'all would like to follow along with all my shows, and I have an archive of all of my shows over on my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. All my social media links and everything are over there. And so you guys go check that out on my website. Also, all of the data for this target is posted actually in my Patreon. Just look up the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon if you'd like to become a member there. Thank you to all of my members, you guys. If you are a VIP member and I don't have your mailing address, please send that to me. Send me an email, thecryptidhuntress@gmail.com. I've got gifts going out this week to all my VIP members. So thank you guys so much for all your support. Also, I have a shop. It's called War Woman Goods. If you guys would like to go check out the goods over there. And otherwise, just thank you guys so much for your support. I also have a membership here on the channel. It's called the Hunt Club. If you'd like to see some exclusive content over there, it's a great way to support the channel. Okay, well, I guess let's get on to our show tonight, because we have a lot to discuss. And we're going to go all over, I was going to say the world, mostly the United States. We're actually going to revisit a couple of other targets that I've done that involve lizard people and reptilians in the United States, in California, in South Carolina. And I think there's some others too. I can't remember right now, but we're going to get into it. Okay, let's get it going. Okay, in New York City, there is a strange and terrifying creature that is often seen after heavy flooding and hurricanes when the underground sewers become flooded. It resembles a human, but with reptile-like characteristics such as sharp teeth, scaly skin, and glowing eyes. Reports of the New York Lizardman began circulating around the mid-1900s. One of the most notable encounters include a group of maintenance workers who saw a humanoid creature with reptilian features while inspecting a section of the sewer system near the East River, which was about 5 feet tall with scales and a long whip-like tail. They claimed the Lizardman made no aggressive movements before darting into the dark tunnel. Now, could this be a human-animal hybrid experiment, a subterranean ancient alien, or a monstrous mutant from the result of the toxic waste in the city sewers? That could be like a Godzilla down there right out of the sewer. Or could it be a product of an overactive imagination? I was tasked with the Lizardman sighting in New York in the 1970s as a coordinate remote viewing target. We're going to discuss this data with our good friend, researcher, and author, Mr. Robby Raines. He is with D.A. Machina Podcast here on YouTube. And he's had his own YouTube channel as well. It's called What's Really Out There. But he's mainly on D.A. Machina. And you guys can find his books on Amazon. And y'all know Robby. He's been here before. Please help me welcome to the show my good buddy, Mr. Robby Raines. Hey, Robby,
Hey, Jess.
what's up?
Oh, not much. Just apologize for the loudmouth in there. You're going to hear him. Apparently, the rabbits are out in the backyard again.
Hey, that makes two of us. Hey, usually it's my dog. Okay, she makes her presence known eventually, but I think we've got her quiet tonight. Hopefully, so it's okay. Man, it is so good to see you. I was actually in your stomping grounds this past weekend.
Yeah, I know. You sent me a message. Hey, come down, hang out. And I'm like, that's about 4.5 hours away from us. You're like, oh, sorry. I thought it was a little closer.
Yeah, 4.5 hours away. I thought you would be way closer. I didn't realize South Carolina was so big, so long.
Yep.
I guess
I'm in the upstate. That's in the lowlands.
the lowlands.
So,
I couldn't believe all the swampland actually. So this is something that I noticed about South Carolina. When I drove through, there was a lot of swampland from the Georgia line right there. Is that the Savannah River right there?
yep.
Okay, the Savannah River. And then going in about halfway to Myrtle Beach, I mean, it just seemed like there was, especially at Bishopville, at the Bishopville exit, there was a lot of swampland.
Yeah.
And and I was thinking, oh, am I going to see a lizard man?
Well, South Carolina is actually, if you look at the climate and look at how it, the temperate zones, everything, South Carolina is pretty much a rainforest. And if you don't believe that, our weather proves it. I mean, this is one of the most humid states there is. And, they've actually, there's a old nuclear site somewhere that I'm not 100% where it's officially at, but it's one of the ones that's been abandoned for years.
Oh.
So they actually did a couple of experiments to see if we would have to worry about the problems that Florida's having with all the invasive pythons and things like that. So they put some of those pits down there to see if they survive, and they did.
Oh.
Because our climate's, I mean, obviously it gets a little colder up here than they're used to, but they're really adaptive animals. So yeah. So I mean, there's a chance that we could have that issue now, because Florida's turning into Australia light.
Oh yeah, it is. Without the kangaroo, I don't know. Y'all had a kangaroo in South Carolina, didn't you? It was on the loose about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a month ago, maybe.
Probably.
Did. It was near Anderson.
There's a guy just up the road from me, I see it every morning. He's got camels, emus, he's got all kinds of stuff. I mean, literally just basically across the road from me. This is turning into a weird state in some places.
It is. Well, I definitely focused on a lot of cryptids out of South Carolina the past couple of weeks because I was going there. And last week I talked about the Cape Fear mermaids that y'all have out there. I think since they built a dam there, it blocked off the flow of water, I guess, to that area. And the mermaids kind of disappeared, didn't come back. But that was a big thing during the Revolutionary War era. And I bet you're a history buff. You know all about all the Revolutionary War battles that were fought out there, and the Civil War battles as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were multiple mermaid sightings out there.
Yeah.
In that fork in the pond or whatever that was.
From what I understand, there was some around the Battery in Charleston a lot too.
Really?
Charleston's one of the most haunted cities in the United States. I mean, that's one of their big tourist attractions, is taking haunted tours, taking people around all the haunted locations on the old plantations and the old slave market and things like that. You can't go through any of those little tourist shops down there where they got the pamphlets stacked up without finding 12 to 13 different haunted tours and things like that down there. So yeah, it's a pretty popular thing around that area for cryptids and supernatural.
Oh yeah, there's one. I talked about some lake monsters too. So like the Lake Normie is what they call it.
That's North Carolina, but yes.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's right. It was in the Carolinas. There's one. I think it's called the Cheery. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a woman with a snake body, and she was actually seen in a lake as well. And I think that has some kind of African roots too. So it probably has something to do with like the slave population that was there. That I don't know if it was conjured.
Yeah, that's probably because that's where a lot of the slaves came from that were in Charleston. And so there's a lot of stuff that has, and I think I know what you're talking about. I think me and Johnny did a show on that a couple of years ago, but I can't remember what the name of it is. But that sounds really familiar.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
it starts with a C. But yeah, I'm gonna do a show on that one day here soon. But I need to. I try to like kind of divide it up and go all over the country and all over the world, and not stick to like this. I'm from the South, so if people watch my show, you'll know I really do focus on the Appalachians a lot, and in the southeastern seaboard over here with the cryptids. And today is, I don't know. I guess today's no different actually, because we are focused on this lizard man. This up in New York, which is actually in the Appalachians. I have a friend, a buddy who's usually in the chat. Our friend Long Island Bigfoot Mike. He comes in here and he does a lot of his investigating, and I've done it with him up in New York. And he told me one day he didn't realize that those were actually the Appalachians up there, but they are. And up in New York City, I mean, it's right there at Long Island. They have something that looks like a lizard man. They said that they have multiple lizard people that are seen outside in New York City, Robbie, after a hurricane or after a flood. I mean, are you familiar with that? Have you heard about it?
I've heard all the stories about, obviously the alligators in the sewers and stuff that what do they call the people who used to work on the tunnels, some name that they used to call. Anyway, I heard that they had seen reptilian type creatures and things like that. Tunnel hogs, I think is what they called them.
Yeah. They bore the tunnels. So I don't know what name you get from all that. I have no idea. The tunnel, the digging crew. Yeah. It's I mean, when I've covered things like Dulce Base, and some of these deep underground military bases, they were talking about how like Phil Schneider had some testimony where he was talking about how he was part of one of those crews, one of those teams that went in with the tunnel digging machines. And apparently they were digging a tunnel for this deep underground military base.
Yeah.
And they intersected with some kind of alien base. And they got into like the alien war. I think they called it like the alien war or something like that, that I covered a while back, where he actually got his hand or his fingers blown off. He said by some kind of alien that was hitting him with a laser gun or something. So strange times we live in. Yeah. It's wild. It's wild. He eventually got unalived, allegedly. And I know he did pass away, but it was just under very mysterious circumstances because he whistleblowed about all that. So it makes you wonder. But with you guys having the lizard man of Scape Ore Swamp, and and I did kind of give a little teaser before I brought you up. I was thinking about going to Scape Ore Swamp on Sunday, and you know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
I was going to go.
You had something stop you.
I had something to stop me. I didn't feel good. Okay. And it was raining. And I literally had a 9-hour drive home. It should have been about a 6+ hour drive. It ended up being about 9. It was a long drive because of the rain. And so I didn't stop. And plus I was warned there's a lot of alligators out there and I was going to go by myself. And so if I were to get out of my truck and get eaten by an alligator, nobody know where I went. So, but when I got home the next day, I saw these videos on like TikTok of somebody like rammed their car into the Dollar Tree in Bishopville the same day I was supposed to be there. So good thing I didn't go. I mean, I don't know. I can't say I would have gone to Dollar Tree there, but that's a wild and crazy place over there.
That car had a hood ornament on it too.
Yeah, it did. I'm not laughing at the people, y'all. Nobody got, I don't know. I can't say nobody got hurt. But nobody died. But did you die? No, nobody died, I don't think. Okay. But y'all can look on TikTok. Look at Bishopville Dollar Tree. and that happened on Sunday. It is. I sent it to Robby today. I was like, did you see this? This is why I'm glad I didn't go to Bishopville on Sunday. But anyways, I considered actually showing the tape tonight, but I don't want to condone, that's not okay, y'all. Nobody, do not drive your car and hit somebody and go into a Dollar Tree. We need those Dollar Trees, okay? I like Dollar Tree. But anyways, nonetheless, that happened in Bishopville on Sunday. And let's give a little history real quick, because your book, you just wrote your second book in a series of of your Shadow Walker series,
Mm-hmm.
you focused on the lizard man or the creature of Skateboard Swamp this time.
Well,
And,
yeah, that was
okay.
the hook. That was the hook. Wasn't actually the lizard man that turns out to be but that factors into it, and that's kind of that's kind of where I'm going with all my books. Is there? It may be what the title says, but it may not be. It may just be that's what people perceive it to be. So I've just just kind of a guessing game that I've been playing with the readers, just to you never know what it's going to be. Could it be that? Could it be something different? But yeah, the I focused on a lot of, not a whole lot. I think I did about a half a chapter on the some of the stories and some of the things in the history. And I always try to do. Obviously, my writing style is a lot like DA's because I sat and listened and have been one of his alpha readers for, almost 3 years. So a lot of or not a lot, but I'd say about 90% of my writing style is like his. So I always like to put a lot of true elements into it. I do a lot of research and, try to figure out, like this third one, I'm having to do a whole lot more research because it's still in the same, but there's a big twist in this one that I'm having to do a lot more research on. So,
Oh yeah. Oh man. Well, I ordered my copy of your second book. I have your first book. The second one's on its way, and I can't wait. I heard there might be a special character in there this time.
Yeah. There's a doctor in there that is she comes around and helps figure a lot of stuff out. She's actually in the third book too.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're all gonna have to just read it, y'all, and find out who that special character is. Wink, wink. But that's so exciting, and I love how you bring the actual local legend of your state, like the biggest known cryptid, I would say, out of South Carolina, and put that you incorporate it into your book. And I think that's wonderful. So I know you had to do a little research on that Skateboard Swamp.
Well, what got me on or thinking about that one? I don't outline my stories. My story, my buddy John, who lives up here, we worked with me at the police department years ago, and he's finally come back around. We're working together again. He was like, he described it the best way that I've heard. He's like, you're not somebody who just sits down and writes something. He said you're a storyteller, which I think that's a big compliment, because that's the important part to me is, if somebody likes the story and can get invested in the story and the characters and things like that, that's what, that's one of the things that DA taught me from the start. So what got me into that is I was getting close to finishing up the first book, and I was trying to think, okay, where can I go? Because I knew I could go plenty of places, but I'm like, where do I want to go with the next story? And what got me thinking about it is I remembered one of the and I think you've probably seen the episode of my show that me and Lance did before Lance left.
Yeah.
When he told the story about him and his buddy down there filling alligator tags right in that area. They were like literally right next to Skateboard Swamp, and they were in one of those little flat bottom boats. They were in about 2.5 feet of water. And Lance said he looked over and he saw a 10-foot alligator swimming underneath the bottom of the boat. And he said they would have never known it was there if he hadn't looked over and saw it. So I got to thinking, I was like, that's a pretty cool hook for a story. So I wrote that in as the prologue for book 2. Basically changed a few things here and there, but that was they were out hunting the alligator, and that's what got them where they were at and got them in the trouble they got into.
Ooh.
So.
Oh my God, alligators are pretty terrifying, and I had my friend Bryce on the show a couple weeks ago, and we have both we actually kind of bonded when we first met. We're both from Georgia, and we got on the topic of freshwater springs down in Florida, and we realized that she and I both were taken as children down to Wakulla Springs in Florida, where you could swim with alligators. And we both swim with alligators, and we decided that's why we're so tough. Okay, no fear, because we had to swim for our lives to this dock, and then jump off the dock and swim for our lives back to shore when we were kids. I don't know why anybody would ever take their kids there. I'm sorry. It's a terrible idea. Don't swim with alligators, y'all. But a lot of people have been getting attacked by alligators lately. I've noticed too. And so, yeah.
We actually did a show about that I think last week, about how, and I think a lot of the stuff in Florida that's going on, I think that's got to do with these invasive species coming in and screwing up the ecosystem. Because, when the alligators used to be in the apex predator of the ecosystem, and all of a sudden now they're not only they're competing with these reticulated pythons and these Burmese pythons, they're competing with Nile crocodiles that are now mating with American crocodiles. So they've got these hybrid crocodiles out there that they're competing with.
That's right.
There's king cobras now.
King cobras.
There's king
in
cobras
the U.S.
Yeah, in Florida. All those.
No, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I may never go back to Florida now.
There's green anacondas they found in the Everglades now. Yeah.
What?
So
those aren't poisonous though.
No, but they'll still kill you.
They will. Have you seen that video of the gigantic snake in that river? I swear that's AI.
Yeah, that's AI.
Is that AI? Okay.
Yeah, snakes. That's not the way snakes. That is not the way snakes move in the water.
I hope not. I don't know. Anything is possible these days, Robbie. Okay.
Yeah, but
anything
you can still kind of tell when something's
just
blatantly AI, and it
did look like
it's
that.
like moving on top of the water, and it's like it's moving. That's not even a constrictor. That's constrictors don't move that way. That serpentine S pattern, constrictors don't move that way. They move pretty much straight ahead. The muscles kind of roll over, and they move in a straight line. That snake was even in the water. You can watch big anacondas, big pythons. There might be a little bit of a curve to their swoop to their body, but not as exaggerated as that was.
Yeah, it was really, that's right. I had a pet snake. People may not know this about me. I had a pet boa constrictor, a red-tailed boa, for at least a decade. I gave it to my brother eventually. It got too big, y'all. It got too big. They're terrible pets. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. Don't get a snake.
I had
unless you're really ready for a big one.
I had a Colombian red tail, a reticulated tiger retic, and a ball python.
Oh gosh, what'd you do? You let them loose in the skateboard swamp?
Nah, they just. I actually gave the tiger retic away because it was a female, and it would probably end up getting way bigger than we could have dealt with, and I just got tired of dealing with the other two, and I traded them to a buddy, or just gave them to a buddy of mine who's got a big reptile collection.
Oh man, yeah, we ended up giving my snake, Kobe was her name. I thought it was a boy, but it was a girl, to a local pet store, a guy who owned a pet store, because we couldn't do anything with her when she got so big. But nonetheless, we've got people making comments about the bringing baby alligators to school. Jackie says, in high school in Virginia, a friend brought a baby alligator in a lunchbox cooler to school in the bus. My gosh. Do you remember back when we were kids? We're about the same age, Robbie. There was a movie it was about an alligator. Somebody flushed down the toilet in New York.
It's called Alligator. Yeah.
It was called Alligator. That movie was terrifying to me. I could not sit on the toilet as a kid. I hate to say this is so TMI, without turning the light on. After that, it woke me up to okay, things could come out of your toilet now. Okay. Snakes, alligators, whatever. That was a terrifying movie, but this is a precursor to what we're talking about tonight. It really is, right? Because we're talking about a lizard man that was actually seen, lizard people have been seen in New York City coming out of the sewer systems and stuff, and out of the tunnels and things. Now, of course, you and I both know, we've been out in the field together. We know we've been surrounded by Bigfoot, possibly dogmen, skinwalkers, all that stuff have been out in the field. I believe 100% lizard people are real as well. I do personally. Have I seen one? No. Okay, not yet.
Well, I don't think you can sit there and incredibly say, well, I believe Bigfoot and dogman exist, and not, but sit there. It's like I've told you.
But they're not real. Lizard people can't be real.
Yeah, I had people at a different department I work at tell me, "Oh yeah, I believe in aliens, but Bigfoot, I believe in ghosts, but Bigfoot." I'm like, how can you have that mentality? So I don't. I'm like you. I've never seen one, but I believe it's possible for them to. I believe it's 100% possible for something like that to be. There's plenty of stuff out in this world that we don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And and like I said, and we were both saying, like, we had pet snakes, and when they get so big, like, it's almost like I didn't calculate that in my brain when I first. It was given to me as a Valentine's Day gift by my boyfriend in college at the time, and he wanted to keep it. We broke up, and I just insisted on taking it because I knew that he liked it. That was so bad of me. That was way before I was healed, and I was very immature back then. Really stupid on my side. Okay, but anyways, I did that. I was petty back then, y'all, I guess. And I got stuck with my snake. I loved it to death. But when it gets really big, what do you do with it? And that's why there's such a horrible case of like all these gigantic snakes that were domesticated at some point. I mean, how domesticated can a snake be, though, Robby? I know they don't get that domesticated, y'all.
I mean, there are certain species that are more docile. That, like ball pythons. They're pretty. I mean, will they bite? Yeah, especially if they're hungry and they're going through their shed and their eyes are milky and they can't see, and you're handling the food. Yeah, you can get bit.
I've been bit.
Yeah, I have to.
Many times.
But then there are like certain types that like a lot of people like those carpet pythons because their color patterns and they're so cool. But those are some of the most aggressive snakes you'll ever. My buddy Andy, who was worked with me at the police department, he did herpetology stuff on the side, and he had a building outside his house that was dedicated to nothing but snakes. He had a black caiman or a spectacle caiman, all kinds of constrictors and stuff like that. The only thing, he didn't have anything hot. He just had constrictors and regular stuff. And then, of course, like I said, he had a spectacle caiman or a black caiman. I can't remember which one he had. But you couldn't go in that room and walk next to the cage of those carpet pythons without them things just striking at the cage. That's just how aggressive they were.
Ooh.
So,
yeah, I can't believe there's king cobras down in Florida. That's horrible. Who brought those there? That's just terrible.
There are more exotic species in Florida than there probably are in the wild, because that is one of the hotbeds there. And I think Texas are probably, Texas is more like big cats, Texas and Oklahoma. But as far as the black market for exotic reptiles, Florida's the hotbed for that. Because you got the tegu lizards, you got all the green iguanas and all those stuff. Those are all down there. Whatever that big hurricane was 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was, or maybe even more than that come through and just wiped everything out. That's where a lot of them came from, was those pet stores and those illegal black market areas that had were housing a lot of animals that they were selling. They come through and it wiped out the containment basically, and there they went.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely it's really sad. And I mean, it's hard to have, we had a little place down in Florida. My dad had a fishing trailer. Okay. I'll be honest, it was a fishing trailer in a little fisherman's town. Now it's got $1 million houses all in that area. It's called Alligator Point down in Florida near Shell Point. And I used to hate, God, I'm not gonna lie, I hated going down there when I was a kid. Okay, because there were alligators everywhere, and you couldn't take your pets there because at night you'd walk out the door and you'd see nothing but red glowing eyes everywhere. They would be in the yard, on the porch, on the canal, on the deck, they were everywhere. It was just not safe being out there. And I'm assuming they still have. I guess it's called Alligator Point for a reason. Mm-hmm. My dad loved it because he loved fishing out there. Yeah, but it's real dangerous.
It's like we say, places don't get the name like Devil's Elbow or Satan's Fork for for they get them for a reason.
That's right, absolutely. Larry Sharp, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that so much. That's so sweet of you. Happy Thursday to you too. We do appreciate that. Okay, well, all right, well, we talking about the alligators going down the toilet, okay, and ended up in the sewage system, and I actually, this is kind of a precursor to the reptilians, the lizard people in the sewers. I did find some articles actually from where people used to buy pet gators and pet crocodiles in New York. Okay, and this was actually kind of a trendy thing, I guess, for a little while there. I don't know if it was. I guess you can call it trendy, but let's see. Here we go. Here's a couple. Live baby alligator, $1.50. Robby, what a deal! What a deal!
Yeah.
How would you like a real live baby alligator for your very own? A rage for baby alligator pets has swept the country. And it says, we have arranged at great expense to supply you with a genuine live baby alligator. It's just hatched in the deep marshlands of the South at an amazingly low price. These corking, I can't even read that, little pets will be shipped to you by mail, carefully packed, safe arrival guaranteed. I mean, do you want a baby alligator? What boy wouldn't? It says, what boy wouldn't? At the very bottom there. It's all fun and games until it starts to grow.
Well,
what do you want to put in your pond?
What's bad about that is a lot of those ads and those things like that, they weren't selling them baby alligators. They were selling them caimans, which are,
oh God,
3 or 4
crocodiles.
times more. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's sometimes they don't get quite as big as alligators, but they're way more aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you know,
man, this right here. Well, this right here. It says a gator. This is a gator. Actually, it says an 8-foot lassoed in a Harlem sewer. Okay,
well,
so these things go back decades. Okay, 100 years ago, they had gators in the sewers out there.
There's, you know, we both live in the mountains. We live about what, an hour apart from each other. We both live in the mountains. There's a little lake up here about 10, 15 miles away from me called Laurel and Hardy Lake. There was an alligator in that lake about 10 years ago. DNR had to come in and pull it out.
God. Oh, God. Well, we actually had there were sightings allegedly of an alligator in our lake where I grew up out in west, I guess it's like northwest Georgia, okay, where we were not supposed to have alligators at all. And DNR came out and put a trap out at the lake with a chicken in it. I remember they put a chicken in it. They put several traps out around the lake. Now, they never found it, but there were multiple people who promised. And we also had a swamp, too. If you went back behind the bridge, there was a spillway, and there's a swamp back there on a big part of our land. And so I'm assuming there was probably an alligator back there. And it would occasionally kind of creep up into the lake. Now, when I was a teenager, we used to jump off the dock and go swimming in my lake and all that stuff. I mean, oof. Yeah, we're just not supposed to have those. And plus, our dogs swim in the lakes too, you know, so that can be very dangerous.
When I went down to New Orleans when I was a kid to visit family, they introduced me to crabbing, and I loved it. I thought that was the greatest thing ever. Me and my Uncle Scott went out there. You know, you just got those big round net traps, and it's got it looks like a big paper or a big safety pin in the middle of it. And you put open it up, put the fish on the middle of it, and clip it back down, and then just drop it down in the water, and wait for the crabs to walk over onto it, and then just pull them up, and there's your crab. And you sit out there and fish all day for crab, and you have crab at night. It's the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Me and my Uncle Scott, he's only like 6 years older than me, so he's more like a bigger brother than he was an uncle. But we were sitting out there, and I went to lean over to put the trap in, and just as I started to let it down, he reaches out and grabs a hold of me and jerks me back. I'm like, what? And he said, look. And I looked down, and there's like a 4.5, 5-foot alligator sitting on the literally, like, we weren't like on a protected dock where there was rails. I mean, we were just on one of them little, you know, just raised up docks that, you know, either one of us could have just fell in on top of this thing. I mean, it literally was like probably 3 feet away from us.
Oh, so like, God.
All right, it's time to go. Come on, let's go. We're going in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it can be really dangerous. I mean, we've had plenty of stories where with the kids being around alligators. I went swimming with alligators when I was a kid. So yeah,
well, but I almost did too.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, but it's like, how did these alligators get in the sewage system in New York City? Is a question. I think that movie kind of answered that question with the getting flushed down the toilet idea. And then we've got ads like I just showed the audience where I'm showing, the $1.50, $1.50. I don't know what year this was. I don't know. Does anybody see a date on there? I don't see a date on here. I'm assuming that would have been in the 50s or 60s, maybe even before that, maybe in the 30s or 40s. Who knows? $1.50 though, that's pretty cheap. For a living animal to get shipped to you today. I mean, you can't even pay shipping. It's going to be at least $10 or something like that. I'm just saying. Oh man, probably a lot more for a live animal. But yeah, that's
and they were guaranteeing it.
Yeah, imagine all the kids that like sent off, like with the kid from A Christmas Story that got his he got his goggles. What were those things like?
No, he got his Little Orphan Annie decoder ring.
That's decoder ring. That's it. It was a decoder ring, and that's what I'm just thinking about that. He sent off for that. I mean, imagine if they're promoting these alligators towards young boys. How many of them sent off for that? Didn't even tell their parents. They ended up with a crocodile in their house, and the parents don't know what to do with it, and some of them just flush it down the toilet. And so imagine all the alligators that were down there. So when we're trying to figure out, like, well, how could a lizard man end up in New York City? I mean, gosh, as many shows as I've done on deep underground military bases and reptilians and the tunnel systems and things like that, especially under New York, my mind goes directly to cryptids and human hybrid experiments and things that, ancient aliens working with our government stuff.
Well, a lot of people, when they think about New York, most people think city, because obviously but New York's got a lot of wilderness and mountain area. I mean, the Catskills are up there, and there's a lot of cryptid activity reported in the Catskills. So it's not hard to think that something like that could work its way down. And if it found itself in the big city, where would be the good or the best place for it to hide and stay away from people? That would be an excellent place for something like that to hide. It's a man-made cave.
It would be man-made. That's important. That was actually in my data. Oh, I do have some pictures of kind of like alligators. I guess this is an AI version. I'm positive. Okay. But alligators and sewers. I mean, when we're talking about the sewage system in New York City too, Robby, it's got to be massive, right? This is a picture of a 41-mile tunnel, a sewage tunnel. Okay. Underneath New York. That's 41 miles worth of a tunnel system underneath. This is just one tunnel in New York City. Okay. And when we're talking about sewage, and this is somewhere I would never want to go personally. I'm just not into sewage personally. Okay. I understand how it works and everything, but it's not somewhere I would want to go cryptid hunting. Would you, Robby?
I mean, I might would go one time just to say I went, but that's not, I would want to like continually, because I imagine it doesn't smell too good down there. And it's probably not the safest place in the world. Even if you don't look at, the cryptids that you might run into down there, New York City is not the cleanest place in the world anyway. So that's probably not a safe place to be.
Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. It's terrifying to me. Okay. I remember when my septic tank backed up a few years ago and I had to get, that was just bad. That was bad. Okay. Yeah. We had to get it drained, all that kind of stuff. But and it smelled bad. I'm not gonna say it smelled terrible, but it did leak out a little bit in the yard at some point and it sucked. But
I don't think I would go down there with anything less than level B protection. Maybe even level C, because that is probably you probably get tetanus from just walking on the or brushing up against the bricks.
Yes, you might absolutely, and not to mention it's really scary down there as well. I mean, look, it's really dark. Pell crawlers are probably down there. I'm just saying, alligators, pell crawlers, and now lizard people, of course. This is one of my AI versions that I it came up with today. I would assume that's kind of what the lizard person looks like. That's what I think. But nonetheless, people are saying that it's whenever these tunnels fill up with water, whenever there's a flood or something, something floods the area, these things come out. And here's another picture. I don't know if this is in New York. They actually have, Robby, they actually have this. There's a whole bunch of art down there. Now, to me, this is very symbolic. Okay, it's called, there's an artist that put a bunch of art down in the subways. It was called Life Underground. That was the name of his project. And, because thousands of subway riders go, ride the subway every single day in New York City. And there's an artist named Tom Otterness. And he put all these miniature cartoon-like statues all over the subway systems. Okay. And I think it has some political connotations behind it, probably. But this one right here is really interesting to me. Okay. And it's actually of what looks like a reptilian, looks like a crocodile or an alligator. And it looks like it's eating a child. And it's got human hands on it. And it looks like it has a business suit on. Okay. You see the sleeves on it? Is this just symbolic of what is this symbolic of, Robby? That's my question. What do you think about that?
Well, it's like we say about all this other stuff, and we say it on our show. I know you say it too. All these myths and all these legends and all these things have some truth, some grain of truth in them somewhere. So some of it's bigger than others, some of it's smaller than others as far as how much truth is in it. But there's some truth somewhere, and somebody somewhere has seen something like this in a sewer somewhere, or I don't. If one person comes up and makes up one terrific story, it's probably not going to hang around long. If it's just one person is the only one that's saying it. But when multiple people it's just like I said about the Bigfoot thing. It takes more faith to believe that it is a hoax than it does to believe that they're real. Because think about it in the terms, I've said this multiple times before. Think about how many people and how big of an organization it would have to be to perpetuate a hoax like that globally for as long as it's been reported. So when you start looking at it in terms like, instead of looking at it in terms of, oh, that's somebody that went out, or it's not real or whatever, what would it actually, to keep this going, what would it actually take for people to continually go out and plant footprints everywhere? So by the same token, when you got people in New York, you got people in Los Angeles, you got people in South Carolina who see the same things, who don't talk to each other, who don't sit down on a daily basis and converse with each other and say, hey, okay, what are you going to tell them today? Well, I'm going to tell them I saw this. Okay, well, I'm going to tell them I saw this. And let's just make sure we're lined up. Obviously that's not happening. At least we don't think it is anyway.
Right.
But
might not be.
So, obviously people are seeing something.
Yes.
And there's, when you start talking about the one in Skateboard Swamp, there's several shaky videos that people have taken on this thing that, it's kind of like the Patty thing. You can't definitively say, yes, that's it, but you also can't say, well, no, that's not it.
Correct. And the case that I was tasked with as a remote viewing target was actually one that involves I believe it's city workers. It was a whole group of maintenance workers that were down in the sewers tunnels and system down there. And they claimed that they saw like a humanoid with reptile features with a long tail. So that gives it some more credibility, in my opinion. Okay, when it comes from, first of all, a group of people, I mean, that I would think that, you and I both know how people hesitate to come forward talking about their Bigfoot experience, Dogman experience, because they're going to look like they're crazy. Well, these people are all working together. Okay, imagine that, being with your coworkers and seeing something wild like that. I mean, you're a police officer, so I'm sure you've seen some weird stuff. But
yeah, well, just like this couple weeks ago when I was in Missouri at that BFRO thing, we all saw something that we can't explain what we saw. If you go back and watch the show that Marianne was on, I think it was last Saturday, where we described the ball of light that we saw just basically dancing around in the sky. I can't explain what that was. I have no
What?
clue. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We watched this thing for 2.5 hours, but there were like
Wow.
11 of us that saw this, and we all saw the exact same thing. So
Whoa.
were we all hallucinating? Did we all have the
You saw an
same?
orb.
No, this was not an orb. Because this was like, I mean, it looked like it was this big, but it was over a mile away, and it was just like, it looked like a heart monitor at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've watched stuff like that out in the field myself, and it ended up having some kind of ET connection, I think. But
Well, we had, what are they called? Ufologists? Is that what people
ufologist, yes.
there was a kid down there with it. I say kid, I mean he's in his mid-20s, so he's a kid to me, but you know what I mean. He was into that. That was his passion, but he decided that he wanted to experience a Bigfoot thing. So that's what he was down there for. We were out there looking for Bigfoot, and all of a sudden we're standing there for 2.5 hours watching this light in the sky, just like mesmerized. I mean, and I don't mean mesmerized by, we lost time or any of that kind of stuff. It was just, I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. When you get a bunch of people that see something like that, it's kind of hard to sit there and say, oh, well, it's not true. I mean, maybe one or two people you can start dismissing it and saying that it's, a hoax or, but when you get 11 people that see the exact same thing and there's none of them can describe it, and everything that we tried to say, because we started from, and okay, well, is it airplane? No, there's it's solid white light. There's no red, there's no green. So it's not, plus it's moving way faster and more erratic than any, aircraft that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start doing all that kind of stuff, it starts getting to the point where you're like, okay, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Keep an open mind.
Yeah. So when you see that many people have a sighting like that, I don't understand
credibility.
Yeah, I don't understand why people can't just, look at the facts and say, same thing D.A. and I say all the time. We've taken statements from people, thousands and thousands of statements, voluntary statements, witness statements from people. That's good enough to put somebody in jail and possibly even take their life. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough for that same person to say they saw Bigfoot or, Lizardman or Dogman or something like that. Oh no, it doesn't count for that.
God, that's a great point, Robby. That's a really good point. Yeah, it's that's why people are not very quick to come forward about this kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Mike has a great point here too. Sewers don't freeze. I guess they don't, right? I guess all that.
I don't. Well, I mean, I guess
stuff coming out of the sewer drains.
Well, that, and it's probably there's the concrete is so thick down there. It's probably. I mean, I'm sure it gets cold, but I don't. Yeah. It probably doesn't get so cold that it would freeze down there. I'm sure it's not warm.
So it would be a good place for reptiles or reptilians to be hanging out, probably. And it would be a stinky place to hang out too. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman says, watch the movie Midnight Meat Train. There's tons of monsters under New York. Gross. That sounds horrible. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on down there. And I just saw somebody had mentioned that, I think it was Sovereign too, said that there were some people report people working there see apparitions down there pretty often as well, if I'm quoting that right, down in the subway system. So a lot of high strangeness down there. And so here it is. Oh, well, that's the comment, actually. Symbolic of the truth about reptoid shapeshifters walking around New York. Okay, well, let's get into this little story real quick about these maintenance workers that saw this reptilian. They didn't call it that, But they said that around the late 1970s, a group of maintenance workers claimed they saw a humanoid creature with reptilian features while inspecting a section of the sewer system near the East River. According to their account, the creature was 5 feet tall. It had scales on it and a long whip-like tail. Though startled, the workers reported that the lizard man made no aggressive movements before darting into a dark tunnel. So they did call it a lizard man, actually. They called it a lizard man. It did not get aggressive with them. It just made it just darted back into a dark tunnel. And I think most of the other sightings have been after hurricanes or flooding of some sort. One account from 2007, a resident of Manhattan claimed to have seen the creature climbing out of a storm drain after a really heavy downfall. And they said that it actually appeared disoriented and it quickly retreated once people started noticing it. So these things are not wanting to be seen. And a lot of times they appear to be disoriented, according to some of these reports that I read. So, all right. So I've been tasked with several different lizard man targets throughout the years. And we'll talk about a few of those. I know we talked about the lizard man escape or swamp. This one in New York is it's not brand new to me because I remote viewed it a little while back, but it's new to the show. We haven't talked about this one yet. I've been so focused on dogmen up there and the Bigfoots at Long Island. And my buddy Mike came on the show. We've even talked about mermaids in the lakes up there. The Montauk Monster, Plum Island. A lot of experimentation going on. I mean, you're talking about New York City. You got to think about Plum Island out there, the Animal Research Lab out there. So, there's a lot of strange, probably human-animal hybrid experiments. A body washed up on shore out there near Montauk, Robby, and it was like they put it in the newspaper, and you can't really find it today. Our friend Brian Minnick with Montauk is Strange on YouTube, he's a friend of mine, came on the show, and he actually showed a picture from the newspaper that showed the body that washed up on shore like a normal human, tall, lanky body, but the fingers were unusually long on it. Had really long fingers. It looked alien, kind of, and it was right there at Plum Island as well. So,
yeah,
what's
that's
going
weird.
on? Yeah, super weird. Okay, well, so this target, we'll go over some of the data. I have a lot of data. If you guys want to see all the data, it's in my Patreon. But on this one, I got to say, this is really odd because the target is whatever these maintenance workers encountered, Robby. And right off the bat, some of the data that I wrote down, I wrote non-organic. This was in the data, non-organic man-made creature. Those were some of the key words in my data. Non-organic man-made creature. Something I kept getting man-made. Man-made kept coming up in the data. These are blind. This is a blind target. Okay, and I'll go over some of the sensory data with the audience. I know you guys like to hear about the sensory data. So some of the sensory data, the first thing I wrote down was wavy, dark, alive, living, wandering, scavenge, hungry, provoked, slinking, moving, deep, and wet. That's what I wrote down. Okay, but my analytic overlay, I was picking up on something 100% man-made. I wrote inorganic and a creature. I actually even wrote down the word snake, man-made structures, caves. I actually thought I was in a damp cave with mildew on it. I wrote down mildew and mold. And I was definitely, for my sketch, I actually did write something that was circular and like tubular kind of. So I guess I was looking at like a pipe, maybe. I thought I was looking at a pipe. Not like, like a pipe, maybe like a sewage pipe or something, like a big one. Okay.
Or the tunnel itself.
The tunnel itself. That's right. Here, I'll show the audience what it looks like. I actually drew a lot of pictures in this target. So it was just something circular with like lines on it. It's almost like an opening to like a tunnel, maybe like underground. That's kind of what I was seeing.
Well, go back and look at that picture of the alligator you got coming out of that sewer with the water. It looks just like that.
Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. It does actually. Okay, so yeah, it is. It does kind of look like that.
Look at the water. That's wavy water.
It is wavy. That's good. So I guess maybe I'm on target for the first 3 stages here. Okay, so for some more of my data, I was picking up on. Okay, I'll just go over some of my analytic overlay. Okay, because I was picking up on water and dirt, something dirty, and it was damp. wherever I was. I wrote down roadblock, patch up a hole. Is what I wrote. I heard like somebody just patching up a hole, blocking off an entrance. Okay, like that was in my data. Whatever I was looking at, I felt like there was something, an entrance had been blocked off. And I wrote down a cave. I thought I was looking at a cave. Something that was on purpose to cover something up. And something was underground, dark. I actually was getting like ritualistic data too, like some kind of I can't imagine people going down in the sewers to do rituals and stuff, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it past people.
Would not surprise me.
I would not put anything past New York City. I've been there before. And that's actually the best place for people to go do rituals, probably, because nobody's going to go down there. I mean, what about the mole people too? Are you familiar with the mole people?
I've heard about it, but I'm not like well versed on it.
Yeah, me neither. But I think it's mole people are people who are, I guess, like homeless that live in the tunnel systems and the sewer systems, I guess. And I'm assuming it would be in New York City, but I think it's out in like Las Vegas, especially as well. Chud. I forgot what Chud stands for, Moondog. But I can't remember. You have to tell me. But yeah, the underground dwellers or something like that. Okay. But I was definitely picking up. So this next page of data that I just went over, I'm thinking like, maybe those workers had gone down there and like closed off a doorway or some kind of passage, and maybe that's why they encountered that thing, because it was getting blocked off from like being able to come out. Like maybe there's more to the story. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they weren't just down there doing maintenance. Maybe they were closing off doorways so that the reptilians couldn't get out. I mean, that's kind of what the data was pointing at, those first two pages.
Like I said, there's always more to the story than what they let us know. So I mean,
yes, there's always more to the story. That's right. Okay, so I actually I wrote down the underbelly as well. I was picking up on something that was flooded. I actually wrote drowning and flooded. Something that was loud, and I wrote down drown out the noise. And I wrote down psychic energy. Okay, so I was picking up on like some kind of psychic energy, and I wrote a vortex. And this is the picture that I drew. I'll show this to the audience tonight because this is kind of cool. So I drew this. It looks like a cone shape, but it also looks like the way water kind of moves, I guess, like going down like that. And I wrote a vortex, and I was like, there's water flow and an energy point and an energy grid and stuff like that. It had something to do with this target. Sorry, my internet's kind of wonky. Okay, sorry. I just realized my son's on his PS5. That's a big no-no. Okay. Let's see. I guess I'm good. Yeah, am I still here?
Yeah.
Can you see me, Robby? Okay.
Yeah.
I was frozen there for a second. Okay. Sorry about that. It's always a glitch. Okay. But anyways, I was picking up on some kind of like a vortex. Like, and I'm wondering, like, from seeing this, because I wrote down psychic energy, vortex, energy center, and I was seeing some kind of energy flowing downward. And I'm wondering, like, what exactly is what is above the ground? Wherever these people encountered this reptilian, this lizard man, maybe there was some kind of building above it, or like a stadium. Let's just say like a stadium. This like an energy center, like a vortex, like a coliseum or something.
Subways not above the sewers in New York?
I don't know.
And then like subways, then below that the sewers?
Could be. I don't know. Somebody would know. I have no idea. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. They would have to be underneath the subways. That's right. But even under the subways go underneath these big power points too, right? I mean, like coliseums and football stadiums.
Maybe a goofy analogy about it, but think about Ghostbusters too. You know, they went into the sewer and then went down below the sewer, went into the subway and then went below the subway into that lower tunnel system.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you were picking up on.
It could be. Well, whatever it was, I do feel like there was some kind of energy source, and it was kind of like the energy was like spiraling down to this point down there, wherever this thing was, whatever I was remote viewing. And so I know it sounds kind of weird, but maybe somebody in the audience can make better sense of it than I can, or
it takes a big energy source to run those subways. So maybe that's what you're picking up on.
It does. It does. It looks like a upside down pyramid is what it looks like when I drew. But I wrote down business and big business. I wrote down apple pie, which is interesting because isn't New York the Big Apple or
Yes,
something
it
like
is.
that? So I wrote down the phrase apple pie on there. And I was hearing a lot of noises, and I wrote down frequencies and music and sound. I was hearing a lot of noise. And but I wrote down threatened and threat. And I was hearing what sounded like a scanner going off, like a police scanner, like an emergency management scanner, whatever y'all carry, Robby.
Walkie.
The dispatch, yeah, the walkie-talkies, I guess. And so I was hearing that. I was hearing scanners, I mean, and I kept hearing like, watch your surroundings, be safe. Something was dangerous. Something was collapsing. I wrote down, I mean, I was picking up on like something collapsing, something really deep below ground, and I just wrote down deep below the surface, and so I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my data. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I had a few pages of data there, but I just wanted to go over the main points of it.
I've been thinking about that movie Chud ever since you started talking about that.
Right. I never saw that movie. I need to watch it.
I've seen both of them.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Thank you, Angelique.
And then part 2 is Bud the Chud.
Are you serious? You didn't just make that up, did you?
No.
Oh my God.
Literally, there's at least 2 of them. And it's Chud 2, Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud. Well, that sounds absolutely terrifying. But I mean, is it more terrifying than reptilians in the sewers? I don't know. Probably not. Who would you rather come up against, a Chud or a Lizardman?
I don't know. That's tough.
Is that a loaded question?
Yeah. Because I mean, Lizardman is probably just a, in my estimation, probably just some type of creature that's just wanting to go about and do what it. But Chuds, obviously, by their name, they're cannibalistic. So just by their name, I don't know if I'd want to cross over or run across them.
Well, I gotta say, the lizard person that they ran into, these maintenance guys, they said it was only 5 feet tall. I mean, I think I could take it. I think I could hold my own against a 5-foot reptilian. I think. Depends. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know. I listen. They don't want to hurt anybody. Obviously, I mean, it didn't seem like it because they said that every instance that we know of now, there's a lot of people that go missing out of New York. So there's that. Not everybody lives to tell the tale, Robby.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
We've talked about that before plenty of times. You know, when you start looking at and then the transient population is a mobile food source for some of these cryptids.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately,
when you think NAM USA lists the numbers is like 600,000 people that go missing in the United States every year. That number is probably low because who's going to report somebody that is homeless? They go missing. There's nobody to report them missing.
That's right. I actually have my maps right here. We've got the we got the missing persons clusters map. There's a big old missing persons cluster up in New York.
Yeah,
that's thick with missing people up there. Here's a little better version. There's a big old cluster in New York, actually. Right there. And also we have the ley line map as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's an intersection right there in New York with that. And on top of that, let's also go check out our deep underground military base map while we're at it. Why not? There's probably some deep underground military bases right there as well. I mean, I know we've talked about star forts. Robby, you weren't here with me on that one, but I have definitely done some star fort research. I've been tasked with some star forts as remote viewing targets, and I believe the star forts have some kind of connection to deep underground military bases as well, and some of these underground tunnels. Man, it's just all connected. This is all connected here, and probably the reptilians. The reptilians are a part of all of it, as far as we know. But these tunnels, these caverns, they go back millennia, probably. I mean, we really don't know the true history of this country. We really don't. Well, we know what we've been taught.
I mean, you just think about what they're saying about the Mammoth Cave, that they've explored 2% of that, but they think it goes from Maine to New Mexico, at least. if not further. DA said when he was younger, they put radioactive marker dye in Bennett Springs, which is in Missouri. 6 months later, they got it came out in Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
if that don't tell you that there's
that's wild.
Yeah, that there's an underground connection of caves and tunnels and water flow systems.
Well, of course there are, but that's wild. That's a long way. My least favorite place to research are caves. Okay, I'm not a cave person.
And that we've talked about that before. We think about it. It's easier to go into the jungle or go into the ocean and explore there than it is in a cave, because you've constantly got to have a supply of supplies or a supply chain going in with you and constantly moving ahead of you. So you've got to supply the supply chain that's there to supply you the deeper you go. So I mean, that's why I think it's so possible and plausible that things like Bigfoot, Dogman, reptilians, any of those things like that. I think, living underground is, very, very plausible. That's why we started working on that theory that we got about all these wood knocks are not necessarily wood knocks; they're tongue clicks, because I think it's a form of echolocation.
For sure, it is. It's a tongue click. I've always said that. That's what everybody pretty much on my team has deduced.
Because
deduced.
If a guy who was born blind can teach himself to echolocate and drive his bicycle around a course that the Discovery Channel set up for him.
Yeah,
they can do it too.
Course.
Mm-hmm. They can do it too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are great points for sure. Well, and it's also been a necessity to go underground, according to some of the oral history that I've learned and I've been told. I mean, it's just maybe that's part of our history books too. I don't know, but it's been a necessity. When it comes to the ant people, talking about like out in the Southwest. And there's another place that I was tasked as a remote viewing target that a couple of years ago, and it was the lizard people city under Los Angeles. Now that's a really odd one, because if you read, if you go Google it, they make it sound like it's humans that were just living underground. Okay, but if you actually listen to oral tradition and stories that have been passed down, I believe the Aztecs were involved with that, actually. And you hear some of these stories, they were actually reptilians. And this was many, 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 many years ago, thousands of years ago. I think it was supposed to be about 5,000 years ago, actually. There was some sort of an event, they say, in the sky. And it forced all these people underground. Okay, forced all these people underground, and this was all kept a secret. Nobody knew about it, I guess, except for some of the natives that lived in the area that passed these stories down orally. And back, let's see, what is the date on here? 1934. A geological engineer, Warren Shufelt, reported to the Los Angeles Times that he had discovered the remnants of an ancient reptilian civilization under Los Angeles. He claimed he found a deep underground city using radio X-ray and Native American lore. According to the legend, the radio X-ray revealed the location of one of 3 lost cities on the Pacific coast, the local one having been dug by the lizard people after the Great Catastrophe, which occurred about 5,000 years ago, where a huge tongue of fire which came out of the southwest, destroying all life in its path. The city underground was dug as a means of escaping future fires. And there were ties to the Aztecs. Okay, 5,000 years ago, Robby. And these things were only found, rediscovered back in 1934 by this guy. I've got some pictures of it. And this is stuff that wasn't in our history books. Okay, and also I believe he was like locating like doors that were pure gold and stuff, like extravagant, pieces of history and artifacts down there, and structures and locations that could fit tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people down there.
Well, show me what history book the giants of Lovelock Cave were in.
Very true. That's right.
We know that they were, that was a thing. You know, Smithsonian showed up
Yep.
and took possession, and then nope, that wasn't us. We don't know what you're talking about. We didn't come get those and put them underneath our. I mean,
Yeah, it's a big old secret, and we're not supposed to know about it. It's just been an erasure of history, is what that is. And they're talking about the vision of a vanished civilization in the California area. You know, this is actually just a picture I found online. It's AI, of course, but you can imagine. I mean, what if there were people like this living here before us?
well,
Very,
I mean,
very well could have been.
why is it so prevalent in pop culture for stuff like that? If it wasn't something that people have, you know, and that could be part of the uncanny valley too, because I mean that's
Oh yeah.
close enough like us, just like a Bigfoot would be. I mean, yeah, it's a reptilian type, but I mean, still, that I would still say that would qualify as an uncanny valley. If it's a reptile that's standing upright and walking on 2 feet, and yeah, I would say that classifies as an uncanny valley.
It does. I did a show on the Uncanny Valley not too long ago, and the focus was kind of like on like mannequins and robots and wax figures, but I mean, we're talking about humanoids. Okay, humanoid, something that's just it's not quite human, but it looks like humanoid. I mean, that would count.
Yep. Well, I mean, when you really think about what the uncanny valley was, I mean, it goes back to way, way, way back where we were scared of something in the dark that looked almost like us that hunted us.
Oh my god, perfect candidates right here. Perfect candidates.
Could have been something like that too.
Yes, perfect candidates. Oh my gosh, Robby, that's a great point. I love that. Okay, here's Shufeld. I think it was his name, right? Warren Shufelt. That's him. He used some of his equipment and was doing like echolocation and sonar or whatever he was using there, and found that. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to bring this up because I think this is cool. People that live, and we got some friends in the chat, I'm sure. I know Bigfoot Dwarf lives in LA. We got friends that live in LA. I've been to LA several times. I used to go like once or twice a year to go see one of my best friends. Excuse me, out of LA. And I have heard that SpaceX or Tesla, I don't know, Elon Musk, whatever his companies are, have like dug out all these tunnels under LA, and they have like their own freeway under the city. Just for them, just for Teslas. Okay, that's what I've heard. And he was like boring holes. Now, was he actually boring holes for his company, or was he utilizing old tunnels? That's the question.
Oh, I hadn't heard any of that. So
yeah, this is just from an article. This is from 2017. It said Elon Musk says he will seriously start digging a tunnel in a month or so to address traffic problems in LA. I think if they already have all these tunnels, he probably started doing it way before that, or or maybe this is an excuse for like utilizing old tunnels that they've always had, and they just didn't want the public to know about it. Surprise, we have tunnels down here. I mean, I don't know. I think it's plausible, actually. So, and this is the kind of technology they actually use to bore these holes in these tunnels. However, if you go back and listen to the oral tradition, the oral stories that have been passed down about the lizard people tunnels, they actually talk about, I think it was I want to say the Aztecs, talk about how the lizard people had some sort of technology that was far beyond anything that we have today. And they said that they were able to melt rocks to make these tunnel systems. And they're everywhere. Okay, so I don't know, Robby. It's like, do we get knocked back into the Stone Ages, the Dark Ages, I guess, after the civilization was, prominent here, maybe? I don't know.
well, I mean, I've heard plenty of speculation on that's what the Dark Ages actually was whoever resetting us.
The reset button. Yeah, I think we've been to several resets. We've had several of those.
If you look at the technology jump pre-World War I to after World War I don't think we should be at the level that we're at right now, based on where we were before that. The technology jump was just astronomical from post World War I to now. But then we are so reliant on stuff like this, though. There's more computing power right here than what the computers they used, to send the moon missions. So,
yes. Oops. That's actually, I was just showing that as an example of the Mayans. Like, they were highly advanced. They were a highly advanced civilization. Thousands of years ago, predominantly in Central America, I believe. But there are connections to the reptilians and the Mayans. There's connections between reptilians and the Aztecs. All these pyramids, they're all over Central and North America as well. I mean, we have Mayan settlements here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Mayan pyramids, like ruins.
I mean, look at the Heavener stones in Oklahoma. You got Viking rune stones that predate Christopher Columbus. I mean, the writing's on the wall. You just gotta want to read it.
Exactly. Our history has not always been taught at all. And also, another place that we've actually had reptilian sightings is at the Grand Canyon. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the Grand Canyon is a big place. I had mentioned the ant people. I actually was given that as a remote viewing target, the ant people out of the Grand Canyon area there. And they have, ancient Egyptian artifacts and all sorts of things that have been found at the Grand Canyon. But reptilians have been spotted in modern day in the Grand Canyon. I don't know. I have not been there yet. I would like to go there.
I would too.
Yeah, I'd like to go there.
There's a lot of stuff that they've got closed off down there now for some reason.
Yes, well, it's actually guarded. They say that there's the cave. There's like a cave entrance there, and that is it. Thomas Kincaid or Kincaid was his last name. Back in the 40s maybe, I can't remember. But he was actually a contractor for the Smithsonian, and took a little tour of the Grand Canyon. He went on an expedition looking for this cave. And came across it and went inside, and it held 30,000 people. I've actually been told, I had a little inside information. I've been told that the cave is actually inhabited today by living people are in there, and a lot of ancient Egyptian artifacts, like a Buddhist statue in there, like different religions and stuff are like found in there, like artifacts from different religions and things. Asian, Indian, and Egyptian. So, but it was heavily guarded and probably cleaned out by the Smithsonian. It's for entertainment purposes only, y'all. Again, this is another one of those shows. Of course, we don't know this to be fact. We're just putting it out there. We're just talking about it. But nonetheless, that's what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is, y'all. And okay, let's see. Where else we have reptilians? Oh, these are some of the pictures that I took actually of Scapor Swamp of Bishopville. I got my camera ready. When I drove past it, I was like, well, I'm not going to go there because I don't feel good, but I'll take a picture. And so that's where I rode by. And this, so the story that goes behind this. Now, I know we mentioned this a little bit earlier tonight, Robby, but the young boy, there was a young boy, he's a teenager. He was working at a local fast food joint. Yep. In South Carolina, in Bishopville, and his name was Christopher Wallace, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and
Christopher, that's him right there. Do you know the story, Robby? You want to tell it?
Yeah, how you want me to go up until what happened to him afterwards, or
yes, tell everything, because you are a police officer as well, and he did meet a really tragic demise in the very end. So let's hear about it. Yeah,
very strange too. But anyway, he's driving home one night from his work. Like Jessica said, he worked at a local fast food restaurant. So it's pretty late at night. He's coming home and ends up with getting a flat tire. So he pulls over, starts changing his tire, and I can't remember if he heard something or just felt like he was being watched and turned. Anyway, something he felt like he was being watched and heard a sound, and then turned and saw it, but he sees these red eyes coming at him, and he sees this, and I think he said it was about 6.5, 7 feet tall. There's the picture of it right there. What he described, running at him. So he, I guess, was just finishing up getting the tire on his car because he jumps back in the car and takes off. Well, this thing chases him and jumps on the car, and apparently did some damage to his car. So when he gets home, he tells his dad, and of course his dad didn't believe him at first. Then the next day they go out and he shows his dad, and his dad sees the damage and is like, well, they're like, we're not going to say anything because people call us crazy, and you know, everybody in this chat knows what I'm talking about when I say that. So they kind of sat on it for a little while, and then a couple months go by, and this couple, a couple miles down the road, they go outside one morning and they find their car chewed up, like, you know, teeth marks in the bumper, scratch marks on the hood. I mean, just really, really messed up. So they call and report it. Well, when this young man sees that there's a report that kind of sort of matches what happened to him, they end up going to the police department and filing a report. And so that was the first 2 reports of the Lizardman escape or swamp. Now,
and that's is that his mom right there in that picture?
I think that's his mom.
That's his mom, and that's the car. She's actually I think it's the same article from the first picture I showed with Christopher in it. She's kind of showing like what he was doing. That's the tire that he had to change. On that car. I've heard that car actually they sold it right after that, and man, wouldn't that have been a cool car to have as a cryptid relic? You know what I mean? That's history right there.
But he was from everything that I've been able to find out about him, he was a pretty good kid. And there's a guy, and I don't remember the guy's name. We talked about this on my show. Me and Lance did. It was the last show that Lance and I ever did together before he bowed out. This is kind of Lance's baby. He loved this legend, so he knew a lot more about it than I did. But there's a guy who wrote a book about that. The elderly couple and this boy are both dead now, and both of the circumstances are kind of strange. If I remember correctly, I think his name's Chris. It's Christopher, but I think he went by Chris.
Mm-hmm.
He it was kind of a botched home invasion, and it was really weird because he was a great kid. He didn't get any kind of trouble. He was, you know, good in school. He worked, you know, but it was a botched home invasion. So somebody tried to write it off as it was a bad drug deal or something like that. But you know, there was never anything that proved that he was involved in anything like that. So
that's tragic.
There's a lot of speculation on whether he was taken out, so to speak.
I mean, there's definitely, and I was going back and looking over a lot of my data for all these targets that involve reptilians and lizard people, and on almost every single target I have written on the paper somewhere, government cover up, government cover up, government cover up. It is a constant in a lot of these cryptid targets that I get, government cover up.
Well, and that leads into what we were talking about backstage about the guy in the military.
Mm-hmm.
He had a sighting late at night. He actually shot the thing. He actually took what he said were blood and scale samples of the creature.
What?
Took it to the sheriff's office. Would not budge on, you know, the sheriff's like, are you sure that's what you, and he would not budge on it. Well, he gets, and I want to say that the sheriff was pushing against something about him carrying the weapon illegally.
Oh my God.
And so when
they get in trouble.
Well, and I want to say he was in the Air Force, because their Shaw Air Force Base was down there close to that area at that time. It's no longer there; it's closed now. But that would have been the closest Air Force base during that time.
They're always
Well,
near Air Force Base, aren't they? Or some kind
yeah,
of military base.
yeah. Well,
It's always.
shortly after he went and reported back to base, he called and retracted his, or went back up there, or brought back up there and retracted his statement and said that he had hoaxed it.
Oh, of course he
But
did. Dang it. He's
but
going to lose his pension.
yeah, well, and that's
Yeah.
what people are saying is that, you know, he was 100% on it until he went back to the base, and then all of a sudden
It had changed.
it changed.
Wait, I got to tell you something real quick. Not to interrupt, but I went looking for a bunch of pictures. Now, luckily, I have all the pictures from the show I did on the Bishopville Lizardman in my Patreon. And I could have brought them all up today, but I was looking at them. I searched everywhere. DuckDuckGo, Google. Those are my two main search engines. And I was looking for those pictures of the police officers holding this footprint. Now, what do you think about this track? I know you're a tracker. What do you think about that print right there? That's supposed to be from the Bishopville Lizardman. It's weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that?
The closest thing that I've seen to that, because I've seen that picture before, the closest thing that I've seen to that looks anything like that is that track that they found in the guy's bean field in Falk, Arkansas for the Legend of Boggy Creek movie. And I've actually seen the replica cast of that, the original that was in the Monster Mart in Falk, Arkansas, which, you know, he sadly he has sold that place now, and I don't know where all those casts that he had in there have gone to, but I'm glad I actually got a chance to see the original. I think there were some casts in there that were original, and there's some in there where there were replicas of the original. I think those three-toed casts were actual, the original cast from that they made for the movie, or during the movie rather.
Man,
But that's exactly
cool.
what those look like.
Really? Well, this is actually kind of a cool point too. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman says there are also little dinosaurs running around the Grand Canyon. Now, we've been getting a lot of reports. I've been taking reports of dinosaur sightings, Robby. Dinosaurs, and we're talking about miniature T-Rexes, pterosaurs, pterodactyls, and velociraptors. What in the heck is up with that? What's up with that? I mean, and these lizard people, I mean, could they be dinosaurs? I mean, well, it's wild.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think anything's possible.
Me too. I do too. I think I've got a picture actually of what there's like some dinosaur. They say that this is what. Oh, I guess I didn't pull it up. So this is what like humans would have evolved from if we had evolved from dinosaurs. I can't remember what it is, and I forgot to pull the picture up. I do actually have. I have a really cool picture. I forgot I had this. I guess I'll go ahead and show it right now. Let me take this comment down. I have this picture. This is supposed to be a real reptilian humanoid. It was a man who lived in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and he was Dutch. And this is online. I don't know the validity of this, Robby. Okay, but this is a man who lived as a human, and people believe that he was actually a reptilian. I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? I've seen this picture for a while. I actually had saved it on my phone at least a year ago. I found this, at least maybe 2 years ago. I've had this on my phone for a long time. Never did anything with it because I was like, this is the day and age of like deep fakes and AI. I don't know.
Kind of looks like Louis Gossett Jr. from Enemy Mine.
Kind of does.
His makeup from Enemy Mine. I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest, that's kind of what
the audience says.
That's what it reminds me of. If anybody remembers that old movie with Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr., that looks like Louis Gossett Jr.'s makeup from that movie when he was the Drac.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Summer says it looks like a certain Riptoid rapper. Oh man, some Moondog says AI. I don't know. This picture's been going around for a while. It's been around for a while, and let's see. Hold on, let me pull up another one. because this is the same picture, but it's got a little bit of writing over it from a trusted source. I bet that trusted source was TikTok. What do you think, Robbie? Supposedly dug up from the dark web. Okay. A while ago, a draconian who lived among humans in a small town in the Netherlands. People thought he had a strange illness and were afraid to touch him, but they never knew who this beast really was. I wouldn't call him a beast. That's mean. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of mean, especially if he's trying to be human. I mean, I don't know. Or maybe he's just AI.
Funny they say draconian when, I just said that's what Louis Gossett Jr.'s character was in that movie. He was a drac.
Well, that's draconian. Well, they say that the draconians actually run the world, right? The reptilian humanoids are shapeshifters. They run the world. As a matter of fact, one survey, I have a survey here. It says that it reports that at least 12 million, I think it's more than that, 12 million Americans believe their country is run by extraterrestrial reptilian overlords. I mean, why not? I have a friend. I have friends. I know I actually have friends. Can you believe it? But I have a friend who was showing me a picture of his eyes. And I think I may have talked about this with Barry yesterday. He had a picture. He always told me before he thought he was a draconian, reptilian, or Draco, I guess. I guess it's the same thing. And he took a picture and his eyes, somebody's taking a picture of him and his pupils had turned into slits, Robbie. And it was not photoshopped at all.
That's aggravating when that happens.
It's wild, right? I know. Well, and we got into conversation like, well, sometimes there are people walking among us who have reptilian ancestry. And maybe when they get around certain frequencies, certain tones, maybe it's frequency tones activated, they're activated by other people, by their energy maybe, or even locations. Maybe they do start to shape shift a little bit. I mean, what do you think the odds are? I mean, have you guys talked? I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but the bells, the old world bells were everywhere. Some say that those bells were taken away because the reptilians can't stand the sound of the bells and the frequencies. It runs them off.
Well, I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, like I said, everything has got. Look at pop culture. Look at how in Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man, when they had the Venom symbiote, how'd he beat him? Bells, sound. It couldn't.
Oh yeah.
It couldn't take the loud sound, and Venom looked like a big reptile.
Venom is black goo, right?
Yeah, it's a symbiote.
It was like what is that? Graphene oxide or something? I don't know. Yeah. Oh God, doesn't this all just come together? To me, like everything comes together. It's full circle. Okay. I'm not going to go down that route tonight. We're not going down that rabbit hole. Okay. But the Venom, you and I have talked about this before because I do remember it now. We have talked about this a little bit about the bells and Venom. Actually, they show us these things in our movies like Marvel. And I do like that movie. I do like Venom. My son loves Venom. He used to. And he told me all about that. The zygote or symbiote. Symbiote. Yeah. Yeah, because it reminded me of that video of that guy that's walking down the street and gets attacked by somebody's mugging him, and he kind of like gets punched and falls to the ground, and that thing comes out of his back and attacks the attacker. That's wow. That reminded me of Venom. Okay, so who's to say that wasn't some kind of reptilian? It could have been some kind of like holographic reptilian coming out of him. His true form came out, and that true form is in his meat suit. Okay. It could be, but Robbie, I also have this picture too, and I wanted to bring this up because I mentioned that survey that said at least 12 million Americans think that our government's run by reptilian overlords. Well, back when President Obama was in office, I remember there was a press conference or some kind of event that he had, and this was real. This is real talk right here. He had a security detail that had these guys on there that did not look like they were fully human, Robbie. And this guy right here, I mean, some people were saying this was a reptilian. It doesn't look human. Do you remember this?
I remember hearing, not specifically this one, but I do remember a lot of people talking about they felt like he was really bringing not real people into places that they hadn't been for a long time.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there's things going on at the Vatican, and I don't know, all sorts of things, but people that don't look human. That uncanny valley was in full effect at different funerals that have been going on all over the world lately, and with the popes and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like now, is this just all kind of being shown to us, or was it always in our faces and we just didn't see it?
I think it's a little bit of both.
I do too.
I think the signs have always been there, but I think there's a reason that things are really ramping up right now.
Why is that though? Why is everything ramping up so much? I mean, the veil is gone. There's no veil. Cheeky Blue says the royals are related to Dracula, the Draconians. Yeah, absolutely. King Charles doesn't he says that they're related to like Vlad the Impaler, right?
I've heard him.
He's living in his castle now. He lives with a group of orphans or something, which is kind of weird. Okay, that he would be living with you. I'm just saying. What is he doing?
Well, and when you really start looking at that, what's even scarier is that the real Vlad Tepes was actually a lot scarier than Count Dracula, that Bram Stoker wrote about. The stuff he did was a lot scarier than what Stoker wrote about him doing.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, speaking of King Charles too, they had that weird painting of him that was like blood red. Okay. And if you put a mirror up to like the halfway point of it and looked in it, if you mirrored it, you could see Baphomet in it. Okay. Like Baphomet. And so this is something we talked about yesterday. I'll show this to you, Robby. Since you weren't here with me yesterday, we had this Leonardo da Vinci had a painting.
That's what I was about to ask you. Have you heard about putting the mirrors up to the Da Vinci pictures?
Yes, this is called the Virgin and Child. And if you put a mirror up to the middle of this painting, to the side of it, you can actually see what looks like a reptilian right there. And some people think, well, is this reaching? I think it might be, but it might not be, and we see how you could take like a dollar bill, $5 bill, $10 bill here in the United States, and you fold it just right. You can see the Twin Towers. You can see every bill is a different level of the Twin Towers falling down. Okay. You can take the dollar bills, you can fold it just right, and you can see the Hoover Dam exploding. Okay. There's all sorts of hidden symbols. What is that? Like symbols will be their downfall or something like that. I remember hearing that a lot, a few years ago. So, but it's kind of it's that karmic retribution, maybe that's what that is. But however, the things are potentially hidden in plain sight for us all to see. Okay. And of course, not all of us are going to be going down the sewers. Okay. I'm not going to the sewer anytime soon. But nonetheless, they show this in cartoons as well. One of my son's favorite cartoons growing up was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Reptilians in the sewers with a pretty girl and a giant rat, Master Splinter.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of putting it out there a little bit. These are actually kind of cool turtles though. Mutated, right? Yep. They got the slime on them. And it mutated them.
The ooze.
That's right. The ooze. That's it. And something else that I can appreciate about the TMNT.
The second movie.
Yeah.
Was The Secret of the Ooze.
Yes. The mutation. It's the toxic chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
It turned into something else, into a whole new creature. And they were multidimensional as well, because every season we had to buy a whole new set of Ninja Turtles because they changed what they looked like. They were still the Ninja Turtles, but they were in a different dimension.
Back to the old cartoons when we were kids, they actually did have that thing that was multidimensional that came from a different dimension. Remember the thing that had a little brain inside its stomach?
Yes.
big robot and a little brain.
I think his name was Brain.
No, it was Krang.
Crane. That's it. Crane. Yes. Well, I thought, for a minute, I was like, well, this is just a really clever marketing ploy because every season we have to buy all new characters because they changed. And sometimes, like, even the races and stuff would change. It was of like April and stuff. It was pretty cool, actually, because it was just a completely different. Sometimes they would actually meet face to face and they'd be like them, just like we talk about doppelgangers and dimensional overlays and stuff. They did all that in these cartoons, and but these were reptiles that lived in the sewers of New York City and ate pizza. By the way, if you know, you know, y'all. If you know, you know. So, but anyways, it's been shown to us since I was a kid, and here's that picture I thought I didn't have. Okay, this is what if humans actually did evolve from dinosaurs, this is probably what we would look like, and I'm going to assume that's probably what reptilians look like today.
Yeah. I believe that's probably Gallimimus or something of that range. Maybe a compy or bigger compy, but it's something in that.
Oh yeah,
genus.
And what does Sovereign says? Search parties for missing people would carry bells and kept ringing them until the missing person reappeared. Whoa. Maybe I missed some comments up here. That's actually really interesting. It's really sad that we do have such an epidemic of missing people. And some people say that reptilians do eat humans. Okay, they eat humans, and we are a food source for them as well. And fortunately for these sightings that we've been talking about today, they ducked and they dove into the shadows. And they didn't really bother anybody, but also, there's a lot of missing people. Maybe some of those missing people do account for, reptilians maybe eating them and stuff, or I don't know. It's terrible to think about, but could be very real. And maybe, what do you think that maybe carrying a bell around with us could protect us, Robby? What do you think?
I know what protects me.
Well, yes, of course, that as well. We walk on the full armor of God every morning. I'm just saying, carrying a bell around.
Bells are they're in all kinds of superstition and lore and things like that. So they're there for a reason. I know that. I mean, who's to say if some like some things can't stand the sound of it. It's a guiding, not a guiding light, but a guiding beacon or something for lost souls and some stories, legends, myths, whatever you want to call them. They're there for a reason. Like I say on everything else.
Yeah.
Somebody believed something or saw something, or there was something that it's just like I say all the time with the Inca stones. People 4,000 years ago didn't draw what we would look at it and say is a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus or a Triceratops. They couldn't get on the Googles and type it in to see what it looked like. The only way they could have done that is if they knew what it looked like. Same thing with all the cave paintings of Bigfoot and Dogman and things like that. They had to have seen something that looked like what they're talking about to be able to write this down. Pure Rice map, the oldest known piece of writing, is, if you look in the margins of it, there are Dogman and Bigfoot-like creatures drawn in the margins of the map, which is a map of Antarctica before it froze. And there's all kinds of settlements and shipping lanes and docks and castles and all kinds of stuff on that continent. And Antarctica is a whole different ball of wax. It's a whole different rabbit hole to jump down.
Yes, it is. Antarctica. I actually, there's I've done plenty of shows on Antarctica, but you can never not have enough information on Antarctica. I mean, I actually was thinking about doing a show on Antarctica this week, and the Black Rock and all that stuff that's up there. And maybe that'll be next week. But there's
that's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, it is. It is not to mention all the weird wild creatures that are up there, and I even did a show on the satanic AI, and maybe the basis up there. They call it Lucifer's Palace, actually, and so what's really going on up there?
Well, no country in the world can claim it. It's the only thing that every major world power can agree on, is that nobody's going to claim it.
Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
We can't agree on nothing else, but we can all agree that nobody is claiming Antarctica.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's, we've actually got some people in the chat tonight. They're talking about reptilian encounters. And let's see. Oh, this may be from TV shows and stuff, though. I'm not sure. People talking about people sharing their peanut butter and jellies with reptilians and stuff. I don't know about that. I wouldn't let my kid do that. Okay.
Hang on, let me pull it up. If you want to talk about Antarctica and reptilians, there's a really good book series. It's called The Last Hunter. I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote it. So let me find that for you right quick. But there's a great series, and it goes into a lot of myths and legends. It's like, calls them the men of renown, but people like demigods like Thor and Hercules and Zeus and Hades and all that stuff. It is a very interesting take on all that stuff. I think you would probably like it.
Oh yeah, I would. I just don't ever have time to watch TV hardly.
It's on Audible. You can listen.
Oh, it's on Audible. Oh, I can do that. I can definitely do that.
Well,
I can put my earbuds in for sure.
I'm just trying to find. I got so many books in my.
Leah, while you're looking for that, Leah says Antarctica had a doctor who was working on soldiers who were sliced by giant spider entities being experimented on, and went through the bullet trains. Yeah, the bullet trains. That's another thing. There's a whole other universe below our feet, y'all. Okay, and I mean, we've heard about the giants. I had that remote viewing target that Tyler with Journey to Truth gave me of the under Area 51, and that based off that testimony of that Lieutenant Colonel Billy Fay Woodard, I think was his name. And he was like a liaison between I think it was the Lyrans. I don't know if it was the Lyrans. I don't know. It was some group that was under, I think he said Mount Shasta, I think. And they were taking bullet trains. And my data had all sorts of military data, and as well as giants and blue skinned people and all that kind of stuff down there. And that's, I believe our government, our military is fully aware of all this stuff, Robby. I know you work in government yourself. You're a cop.
Different form of government.
Yeah.
low level.
Right.
It's called The Last, and you can get it in a collector's edition where you can get all. I think there's 3 or 4 books, maybe even 5. But anyway, it's The Last Hunter by Jeremy Robinson.
I can remember that because it's got Hunter in it. The Last Hunter by Jeremy Robinson. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Robby. We'll look that up.
It is completely and totally about Antarctica, and there's dinosaurs in it. There's like I said, they call them the men of renown. But it is. I think you would enjoy it.
I'll look it up. I will look it up. I just ordered your second book, so I'm excited to get that in. And yeah, I'll look that one. I'll get that one too. I can do it on Audible. Leah says Lemurians under Shasta. Thank you. Yes, that's right. It was the Lemurians down there. Did I say Lyrans? I said Lyrans. Started with the L. Okay. But yeah, I love remote viewing. I think that it did show that guy's testimony was real. There are all sorts of ancient races of extraterrestrials and crypto-terrestrials and everything right underneath our feet in our mountains, deep underground military bases, reptilians, and all that. Okay, and all that. And apparently they're just kind of coming to the surface every now and then. Okay, all around for my data, when I was like contrasting and comparing some of my data with like the skateboard swamp lizardman and then the one out of New York, I believe that both of those cases were cases of the reptilians, these lizardmen, were actually hungry. That was in my data too, was that I feel like they were hungry, or they were searching for something. Okay. And that's another takeaway from both those targets. I do believe that there was some kind of, they were hungry. I think the one at Skateboard Swamp would have eaten that kid if he had gotten to him, Robby. Actually,
Well,
according to my data.
That's what he felt like, and it chased him down. It jumped on his car, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to finish my thought on that earlier, because I was saying that I couldn't find a lot of those pictures online today, but luckily I had them all uploaded to my Patreon. So if you guys are part of my Patreon, please go check out all those pictures. They're all the pictures I could not find them online. The picture, I know there's pictures of, there's 2 cars that were attacked. Okay. It wasn't just Christopher's car, but there was another, like a blue minivan that was attacked as well.
I think that was the second vehicle.
It was a second vehicle. I think it was a minivan or something. It was some kind of blue van or something like that.
And Small Town Monsters has done a really good documentary on it, if you want to watch that. And that actually goes into a little bit of the detail, a little bit more detail on his story and the other people's story. And I think they get into a little bit of what happened to them later on in life too.
Oh yeah. That's a tragic story, man. What happened to Christopher. And and for the public, and I'm sure his family too, to feel like there's something off about all that. I have consistently picked up on all these targets when it comes to things like lizardmen, reptilians. There is a massive cover up of it, and sometimes they will cover things up at all costs. And I don't know. Sometimes people lose their lives over it. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know, Robby. What do you think if it came down to it, and like somebody encounters a lizard man and it chases after them? Would you recommend they go to the newspaper and talk about it, or make a police report on it, or should they just call their local cryptid hunter? What do you think?
I would probably say it would be better to go with the local cryptid hunter first, because
me too.
You know, coming from that, there's not a lot of people that do what I do that are gonna be like, okay, let me and treat it with anything other than, well, we've got another crazy in here. I mean, that's just the nature of the, and I've said this before too. We are so conditioned, and it's so ingrained. Anytime we see something, we're driving down the road and you see a black blur run across the road, or running parallel to it. Everybody's first word, oh, that's a bear, black bear. It's a black bear. Everything's a black bear that you see out there, especially in this part of the country. If that was not so ingrained, and the government had not beat it into everybody's heads that these things, it's a misidentified black bear or a misidentified bear, if that was not the narrative that they were trying to spin, how much more would the sightings be? I think it would be doubled, if not tripled, of people who, because people just are so ingrained to say, oh, what I saw was a bear.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of stopping and thinking and actually reasoning out what they actually saw, they just automatically jump to the conclusion of, oh, it's a bear. without even thinking
without questioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's programmed. Okay. Tune into your regularly scheduled programming. And so they need to get on YouTube and watch our channels.
Yep.
And open their minds, and that's all. That's all. I think it's important that we talk about these things, and that we bring it to the forefront and let people know, like, this could be real. Lizardmen could be real. I believe they are. Okay. We don't take all these reports for nothing. Okay. Yep. And talk about it. What if? Keep an open mind, at least.
So they say that the creature that had this tooth in his mouth is 100% extinct, but yet they found teeth this size, and this is the formula for this is for every inch you add 10 feet. You all right?
That just scared me. Well, let me tell you what happened. We put my dog in the car tonight. She's out there with the windows down.
She's blowing the
she'd be
horn.
quiet. She just blew the horn.
Like,
Oh my
now,
gosh.
come get me.
Of course, of all things, like y'all heard that horn blow.
I
It's
just
so
saw you
funny.
jump. I heard the horn, but I saw you jump too.
No.
But the rule of thumb is for every inch you add 10 feet. And this is about a 4-inch, 4.5-inch too. So whatever was swimming around at one time that had this in his mouth is about 40 to 45 feet long. Do the math on that. But they say that this thing is 100% 100% extinct.
I say that, but
Somebody said this in the chat last week. Well, they've mapped at least 20% of the ocean. They mapped 20% of the ocean floor, but they've only explored around 5% of the ocean.
yeah,
Saying that this is 100% extinct based on the fact that we've only explored 5% of the ocean is like going and taking a spoon and dipping it right at the edge of the ocean and saying, yeah, well, there's no sharks in that. So sharks don't exist.
exactly.
It's the same principle. When people say, oh, I've been in the woods my entire life, I ain't never seen it. You've been in one small section of the woods your entire life. There's 88 million acres in the United States of just national forest. I don't count state parks. That don't count public useways. That don't count Bureau of Land Management. That is just what is national forest. 88 million acres. What can hide in 88 million acres?
Reptilians.
Reptilian,
Dogmen.
Bigfoot, Dogman,
pterosaurs,
deep underground military bases.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff. You can hide a whole country in 88 million acres.
Yeah, you could. You know what? I was just thinking about that again. That the data that I got for that New York reptilian guy, that Lizardman, I kept picking up on something that was man-made and non-organic. Something that was like, it was almost like maybe it was some sort of a chimera or something. Not to say that's not organic, but it's like, when you splice DNA or however they do that.
Well, that would make sense as why some of these places were trying to pass laws where it is illegal to shoot near human chimera.
Yeah, what is that about?
I don't know. You tell me.
You say a human chimera?
Near human.
A near human, like that's really weird.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would be like a human mix, like an animal, like a human animal mix.
I don't know. But that is how it read. It's unlawful to shoot a near human chimera. Near
human. Is that a federal? You said federal?
I can't remember what state DA said that one was from. We had that on one of our show. We was talking about. I think it was we were talking about like Oklahoma has got like a $30,000 bonus if you bring one in alive, and then Florida's like it's illegal to shoot the skunk ape in Florida, and and the U.S. Army Field Manual in the 70s and 80s had Bigfoot listed as a known creature that you could encounter in the Pacific Northwest, and just different things like that. And that was one of them. There's some county or state or something was trying to get something passed for it to be illegal to shoot near human chimera.
A near human chimera. Maybe they're talking about dogmen and stuff. Bigfoot. I mean, okay. Well, I guess that's a good thing. What about, okay, this is a question. This is kind of gross. I've heard that pigs, like the pigs that we eat bacon from, are like a mix between human and wild boar. Would that count? So we can't go after pigs?
I mean, pigs are pretty.
If that's the case,
they're like really close to us anatomically, like where everything is located, and
organs.
Their organs are located in their body. But I don't. like I said, I don't know what near human chimera means.
Crawlers.
Yeah,
That's a good one too, Aaron. Pale
but
crawlers.
it's just people always, or the big thing now is the dire wolf. Those are not dire wolves. Me and Eric did a show on that. Those are hybrid. Those are a new species of wolf dogs. All they did, because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this thing it's 98%. Mama, come get me.
I
That's
can't
funny.
win, y'all. I swear I can't win. I've done everything trying to keep my dog out of the show.
She wants to be part of the show.
This is so funny. I'm sorry. It's actually really funny.
Oh, what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing over here. This is really funny. I put my dog outside. If you just tuned in,
oh yeah,
I didn't tell anybody I'd put my dog outside, and she's in my car with the windows down right now, and she's been blowing the horn.
They say that they're 98%, 98% genetically similar to a dire wolf. But that 2%, what they don't tell you, that 2% difference adds up to 12 million DNA markers. So 2%, but there's 12 million differences in what those things are and what they took out of those. And out of those 12 million, they picked 20, 15 from a regular dog, and 5 from the gray wolf that they thought would make it more like a dire wolf. So out of 12 million, they picked 20 that they thought, 20 things that they thought from a regular dog and from the gray wolf that would make these things more like a dire wolf.
Really?
So you tell me that they de-extincted dire wolves, or if they just made a different.
They just made something different.
And here's the thing, why, if they're supposed to be dire wolves and they're supposed to be so genetically similar to gray wolves and all this kind of stuff, why did they not let them be carried to term in a female gray wolf? Why'd they have to take the eggs from the gray wolf and then put them in a dog?
Good question.
Because are they not going to take on some of the similarities, whether it be whatever they genetically put in or not? They're gonna the female dog that's carrying those eggs and letting those embryos develop inside her system, they're gonna take on traits from that. I mean, they're not dire wolves. I don't know why this corporation wants to try to, do the sleight of hand over here. Oh, watch this hand, but don't watch this hand. It's it's the same.
It's a little deceptive, and everybody got really excited about it. Like, oh, they're bringing the dire wolf back, and they put him on that Game of Thrones throne. Like, oh, we've got these dire wolves. Oh, they're actually not dire wolves.
Yeah,
they're just a little DNA.
It's just I mean, it's no different than how they've bred all the dog species that we've got now. I mean, it's just every dog species that we've got now comes originally from wolves.
Oh man. Well, going back to pigs real quick. Hey, Renee, he says 98% genetic match pig and human. Oh God, that's terrible.
Yep. But there again,
that's why we use them in certain organs.
That 2% makes a lot more than people.
It does,
because the 2% in the difference between the dire wolf is like 12 million different DNA markers.
Oh man, that's wild. That's wild. So I mean, so you can kind of say pigs are mostly human. Oh God, I love bacon, y'all. That's an issue now. It's an issue, Robby.
Well, there's a reason they call us long pork.
The other white meat. Mm-hmm. Gross. Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, that's just tragic, man. That sucks. And pigs are so sweet. And my mother won't eat bacon. She does not like pork at all because she loves pigs. And now I see why.
I do too.
She's smart.
Bacon, ham, bologna.
Bologna. I love me a fried bologna sandwich.
Barbecue.
Yeah. Sound like Forrest Gump talking about shrimp. All the different times we could eat it, different ways we could eat it. But yeah, man. Well, I think we covered the Lizardman pretty good tonight, Robby. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to read your new book, your next book that's coming out. I know you're actually working on a third book.
Yeah, I just finished chapter 8 today. I'm about 16,500 words so far.
Oh wow, man! I need to get some inspiration from you. I need to write me a book. I need to do that. I keep getting encouragement to do that. And you are an inspiration, Robby, and you're cranking them out. So yeah, tell everybody about everything you got going on, about the DAX Machina, your podcasts and your books, and where people can find you and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And even we'll do a final word after you do your promotion.
Okay, you can find us every Wednesday and Saturday night on YouTube at 8 o'clock Central. So that would be 9 o'clock mine and your time, Jessica. But 8 o'clock Central. On DAX Machina. Me, DA, Doc, Steve, any combination of the four of us usually. We just had Heath Stalk up on last night. He's another author friend of ours. He's got like 50 books in print. So we just, we never have any rhyme or reason. We just, it's the whole premise is just like we're just sitting around a campfire talking. So we talked about the books last night. Heath, mine, DA's. Talked about cryptids. Yeah, I know most of your fans are in our chat too. Most of your chat. So y'all come check us out. Check out DA's books, DARoberts.net. He's got over 30 books in print. I've got 2. Working on the third one.
Pull those up.
Yeah, my first one is Silver Star or Shadow Walker's Silver Star. That's book 1. And then book 2 is Shadow Walker's The Creature of Scapor Swamp. And I'm working on the third one, and it is going to be titled Shadow Walker's The Terror of the Wampus Cat.
Oh, I was going to do a show on the Wampus Cat this week, Robby. You'll have to come back on with me, and we'll do a Wampus Cat show one day.
I love that.
Do you? Okay, good. I need an expert on it, so
yep.
I'll bring you back on for that.
That's the cover for the second book, and the first one she put up was the first book. So
I love it.
And the Jed thing, a lot of people want to ask about the Jed thing. That's if you've read any of DA's books, especially if you've read the Dark Frontier series, this character named Jed Raines, that's based on me. There's also a character named Robby Raines in Death of the Outlaw Pass and a few other books. So, but you're gonna have to read those books to see how those two characters
clash
with
each other.
Or they don't exactly run into each other. You just have to read the book to find out.
Oh, man!
But that's how a lot of people from our fan base know me. So DA and I write under DA's Dark Water Endeavors publishing banner. So basically, I'm under DA's banner. We'll put it that way. But that's how most people know me from the books is Jed. So, and that's how I'm listed in the co-host chat is Robby Jed Raines. So we felt like that would be the best way to list it, so people would make the connection. Because not everybody that reads his books comes and watches the show, but if they read the books, they see the name, they understand it, and they can make the connection. So,
but yeah, that's so cool.
Go check them out. I think they're for book 1 and 2 and that be the first 2 ever. I'm my own worst critic, and I will. It's hard for me to take, but I think I did pretty decent on.
You did great. I've read the first one. I'm almost through with it. I love it. I was super impressed from the get go. When you first sent me that, I was very impressed with that. And now I can't wait to get the second one in. So I'm going to have to get you to autograph it next time I see you.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to.
Okay. Nice. Heck yeah. Well, yeah, you guys please go over and check out DA Ex Machina, y'all, over on YouTube. And you
Yeah.
guys have show. Are y'all still doing a Sunday night show too, or y'all just doing Thursday or Wednesdays and Saturdays?
Right now we're just doing Wednesday and Saturday. We want to go back to the Sunday night show, but and I don't want this to sound bad, but I mean it is what it is. Not so much for me now. Eventually, it's going to be that way. But the books are the way DA. That's his main source of income. If we're just sitting there reading the books, he's kind of losing money. So we're trying to figure out a way we can do it for like channel membership, and it be only those who have got channel membership. So we're just trying to figure out the most fair way we can do it for everybody. Because if we're just constantly reading his books and my books and things like that, and it's not helping us out at all. And I get it, because that's his main source of how he DA's disabled. That's how he provides for his family. So if he's reading the books on the show for free, then he's not making any money off of it. And I get it.
That's true.
So we're just trying to figure out the most fair way, because we don't want to. We love doing it, and people love it, but it's got to be fair for everybody.
I totally get it.
We're working on it.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. Super entertaining. It's a lot of fun, and I'm super proud of you for getting those books out. And like I said, I can't wait to get my second one in. Probably tomorrow. Should be here tomorrow. So thank you for being here, Robby. And I'm so sorry, y'all. I missed some of these super stickers tonight. I was been so busy talking and not paying attention. Thank you, Skip. I appreciate that. Good show. This stuff you always heard about. I love that. Thank you, Skip. That is so sweet. Thank you for your support. And then, of course, I've got Scott here. Scott, you are so crazy. I appreciate that. Jessica Jones for Miss America. You made me have to say that out loud. My goodness. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that, Scott. I think I'm going to be back up in your area, actually. Thank you for that super sticker and for your support. But I'm going to be back up in that area, Scott, Mount Airy. We're doing a UFO conference next month. I think we're doing another conference up there at a distillery. So if you guys want to come have a sip and hear about UFOs, come see me. Okay. But Robby, this has been so fun tonight. And I always have fun when you're here. We usually have a really good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Of course. We always have a fun discussion over this crazy stuff. And I want to get out to Skateboard Swamp sometime when the energies calm down and people aren't driving through the walls of the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, that's probably a better time to go.
What the heck?
That might be something we need to try to plan then.
Wear your helmet. Wear your helmet and just keep your head on a swivel. Like I always tell everybody, I always end my shows by telling everybody to keep your head on a swivel, but don't live in fear. Okay. And that's the same, especially if you're going up to Bishopville. Y'all be careful out there. These streets is crazy. Okay. And, but I love it. And not only do we have to worry about people running us over, but you got to watch out for Lizardman. Yep. Okay, y'all. But yeah. Well, any final thoughts tonight, Robby? What do you think about our New York Lizardman and all the Lizardmen?
100% within the realm of possibility as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, is that the ultimate, or is that the not the ultimate, but is that the best environment for something like that? No, but is it something that they could survive in? And yeah, I think so. So be careful if you're in the sewers in New York.
Sewers. Check your toilet before you sit down, y'all. Turn the light on at night.
Yep.
You never know what's coming up that little hole down in there. I'm just saying. It could be a king cobra. Now we got to worry about those. Thanks, Robby. Now you just you unlocked a whole new level of fear there, even though I don't live in fear, except for when I'm in Florida. No more Everglades. I don't ever go to the Everglades anyways, but no more Alligator Point for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The Everglades are fast
king cobras.
The Everglades are fast becoming a place that you probably don't want to go to and spend a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be really careful. Well, shout out to all of our Bigfooting friends from down in Florida, like Mid Florida Bigfoot Research, and all those cats down there. Y'all, please be careful. Okay, just be real careful. I mean, we have poisonous snakes here too. I mean, we've got timber rattlers and cottonmouths and all sorts of moccasins. Copperheads, that's a big one. We always had a lot of copperheads and rattlesnakes at our farm, and water moccasins. And so we have a lot to look out for too. I wear my boots on the ground, okay, and snake chaps and all that kind of stuff. Just be careful. Good Lord. All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for being here tonight. I want to thank everybody for all the people in the chat tonight. You guys are amazing. We definitely have your channel and my channel both, Robby. We have the best chats on the internet for sure. Best moderators, best everybody. It's always fun and wonderful support from everybody. Thank y'all so much for the super stickers tonight, and for sticking with us. If I could talk through the whole show. And yes, I did. I didn't have any kind of dog panting tonight, but I did have my dog blowing the horn outside. Y'all, don't worry. It is nice and cool tonight. The windows were down and my mom was out there with her. Okay. So I tried something new, but it just didn't work. She had to make herself known. It never ends, Robby. I swear. But,
you heard my big mouth in there.
It's so funny. It just shows me she's always here, and she's got my back out there. So she's patrolling. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful night. Please come back and see me this Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on the Hunt. I'll be back. And Robby, you guys have a show Saturday night. Y'all are at 9 p.m. Eastern. So y'all go check out D.A. Ex Machina this Saturday night as well. All right, everybody. Have a great night. And we will see you guys back on Saturday. Thanks, Robby. We'll see y'all soon.
See ya.
Be safe out there, y'all. Bye.